Welcome, and let's get started to how to study kings and prophets in the Old Testament. So let me go ahead and open up my Logos program and personal book so you can see the outline and the topics. We're just wrapping up the introduction, and let's begin here with why is this important? The historical background of books helps us understand the context in which they are written, since we're 2,000 plus years removed from the authors and events of the Bible. Background studies such as this are essential step for correct interpretation. And understanding the kings and the prophets is so important because they have this interrelationship. Now, some key concepts as we jump into this. Dates are going to be so important. So learning to search on those, learning to keep track of those because they will vary from author to author. And so they can be a little frustrating. A big term you've got to understand is co-regency and co-reigning. The idea is that in times in Judah and in Israel, two kings were on the throne at once. And so what we have is co-regency. This becomes really important when it comes to calculating the years out and so forth. Now, this is something that I discovered in seminary, wasn't really aware of it till I really got into this. And so I want to share this with you. It's called the accession years and the non-accession years. Now, the accession years is the system that is used mostly in Judah. So remember, after Solomon, the kingdom divided. And how do you count the years of the kings? So when you have an accession year system, that means the first partial year of the king's reign is year zero. In other words, they don't count it. Not until the first full year is it year one. So if we were to use our calendar and the person became king in the middle of the year, that's still year zero. It's not till January would the full year start to kick in, okay? So very, very key. Then we have non-accession year system in Israel. The first partial year of the king's reign is counted as year one. So this is the predominant way. There are exceptions, of course, but you need to be aware of this as you start to look at the chronology of the kings. Now, when you're researching the kings, there's a lot of tools to help you get organized. So let's go ahead and go to the fact book right here. And we're going to click on that icon. And let me go ahead and launch my little mouse here. That'll make it a little bit easier. Now, the new fact book is actually very helpful for studying the kings. And I'll show you why in a second here. We're going to look up Jehoram, son of Ahab. And what we're going to do is we're just going to click in that box and we could type it in. Jehoram. Okay. Now, when you type it in, you're going to see some options. And there it is, Jehoram, son of Ahab. But notice we have Jehoram, a king, a priest, a name, and a name. This complicates things, and that's one reason why I picked this one. So let's choose the son of Ahab. Now, when we run the search, right away, it's going to locate a dictionary for you. It's going to give you people, places, and things, biblical events, reported speech, media, key passages, etc. Also, it's just referred to as, and we can see some of these names. King, ruler, Jehoram. Look at this. It's got a different name. Very, very key. So when you're studying the kings, it's so important to look at their other names. We have biblical places and things. Now, this is really handy, particularly as we get into this, because we have the people and we have the places related. And so this can give you some really good ideas of where to study and what other events are connected to this individual. Then we have biblical events, and I like this feature in the new fact book, okay? Traditionally, we're used to seeing the outline. That's what this is. But the featured takes it one step further. We see battles, we see feasts, we see other events when he was killed and so forth. So think of this as additional summaries and insights into the outline. And I think this is a really nice enhancement for biblical events. And it's going to make it a whole lot easier to study people. So very key there. And then reported speech is pretty fascinating because now we get this other information. Okay, so we have featured. There's his oath. And also Elisha swears an oath. So now we're getting a link to the prophets related to this particular king, who he speaks to. So very easily we're getting access to who has had encounters with this particular king and who hears from. And now we've got the passages. So this saves you a lot of time of searching, doing these specialized searches. And I really like that, though I will give you a couple of these searches to take it even further. Now, any media, where media is really helpful is in a couple things. One, any kind of map. So if there's a battle or some kind of scene that we need to be aware of, we have that here. And so Mesha of Moab fights Joram and Jehoshaphat. And so now we've got those details, and that's really helpful. By the way, don't forget you can type in these names in here, and that will help you find more information on the individual. Now here it is. Notice I typed in Joram, but I got Jehoram, son of Ahab, same person. So now we can see that there's actually two of them here, and can be very, very useful. All right, let me go ahead and close that by clicking X at the top right. The other reason media is really helpful is the genealogies. So let's go ahead and click on the family tree for Ahab, and we can see that there. And just real quick, I see a question in here. Digital Sword, is the paper copy a different revision than the Kindle Logos book I received a month ago? No, it's identical, and it just takes longer to get printed. So identical book, no additional material. Excellent question. All right, so here we are. We're back at the family tree for Ahab, and we can see that there is Joram. And if we float our mouse, we get some details. So the media can be very useful. Sometimes Logos does provide some slides, and we can click on those, and we can now scroll through those. If you see a little orange dot, that means there's more than one slide. So we can hit the arrow here at the top right, and we can work our way, or we can just scroll down. Actually, that's the better way to do it, is scroll down. And now we can see, hey, Jehu decimating Ahab's line and ends the Baal worship. In this case, there's only two, but we can see the different routes of the different individuals. So very, very helpful. All right, and then if we close these down, then everything else after that is pretty straightforward. We have key passages and so forth. Now, referred to as I mentioned, can be useful for finding other names. By the way, if you click and expand this, you will get the key cross-references, so be aware of that. This can be a nice way to get some just essential passages. Dictionaries, I do like this because it can give you the background right away, very quickly to the right person, very important. And in the case of a situation like Joram, sometimes these dictionaries will list all the Jorams, okay, or all the so forth. This one gets into the details, all the key cross-references, etc. Notice that there is some dates and times in here that can be very useful for you. So quite a bit of information. Now here, king of Israel, son of Ahab, the successor to his brother Ahaziah. So again, this is so important to understand that these dictionaries will sometimes list all the different people named that way, and then you have to find the article that's related to the person we're studying. So that would be number 2. And so we would focus on this section rather than the first one. And so it's so important to be very careful with these names. And then we have a Levite, a priest at the time of Jehoshaphat, etc. So the dictionaries can let you be warned of other people named similarly, but they're actually different people. And then under that, we have, if you have journals, any journal articles, any sermons, books, fact book tags. The last one is the dig deeper. This can be very useful because it's kind of letting you know what else you can search on. So look at this. We can do a topic study. We can do the role of the king, various topics related, some guides, a workflow, other people related. So really, this one thing can give you a lot of information. And then if you choose search at the very bottom, this kind of all-encompassing search will search your whole library for everything related to this individual. And think of this as an exhaustive search. It's pretty intense. And so we have information here, fact book cards, some more atlases. Notice that it's summarizing kind of what we already saw, but with one search. Questions and answers. For how long did Jehoram reign? 12 years. And then it gives us the actual Bible passage. Where was Joram or Jehoram king of Israel? At Jezreel. There we go. And if we click more, that resource will actually open up to books, and now we can do a search on these specific questions and see if anyone else says anything. Now you notice that we've got questions and 4,000 questions. Pretty cool. So take advantage of this incredible fact book that Logos continues to enhance for Bible study. Very useful. Now, the advantage of the fact book is really this. It's the kind of one-click find everything, which is why I have it. Now, you'll notice I do have the guide, which gives us access to the person. Notice, too, that there is a layout topic study. So let's open up both and just take a look here. So here is the topic guide. So we'll go to guides, and then we'll go to topic, locate, scroll down here to topic guide. All right, notice that we have Jehoram, son of Ahab, and we can put that right in there. Select the topic as the name. So I don't know if you knew this, but the topic guide does work with the people. You can see it's identical. So again, you can go manually to the one report you want, or you go to Factbook. Now, the advantage of the topic guide is, of course, it's going to give you lots of dictionaries, related verses. You can see a little more detail with some atlases and things like that. So this is very similar to the Factbook with a few additions. And if we click on, let's say, Atlas, notice we do get a few more maps than we did before. In fact, there's a More button there that we can click on and get all the maps. So the topic guide will go a little bit deeper. I'm not going to point out all these, but check this out for biblical people. We get some more maps that we didn't see earlier and some other genealogy trees. So depending on your library, you can get a lot of information, but notice we're getting other people related. So this is really nice to kind of paint a family portrait or other relationships. Very, very useful. All right, so topic guide can be very useful. And again, that's right here in the fact book as well under digging deeper. All right, let's go ahead and close these down. And let's close these dictionaries as well. And we'll just close those down very quickly and go back to the personal book. All right, what about the advanced timeline? So let's go to tools. Let's type in time, and we'll click on advanced timeline. Now that typically opens up in a floating window, and there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in our person, Jehoram, son of Ahab, and there we go. Now when you press enter, you may not see anything. So the next thing you got to do, now it does say 0 events. And this is important to see this. I'm going to do show all matching events. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to delete this extra stuff in the parentheses. Because I've noticed in the timeline, sometimes information is inaccurate. Now, this is interesting because look at this. It's the reign of Jehoram in Judah. All right, we wanted Israel. And this is where the other names come in handy. It's unfortunate that Logos isn't consistent, and that makes things a little more challenging. And so here we have the reign of Joram in Israel. This is why we have to know these other names. So be aware of that. And we can expand these, and we can see that there are some here for the individual, his reign and his death. Now, if you click these, or if you click the I button at the top right, you can see there's more information on these events that you can click on and learn more. This will help you double confirm that you are researching the right person and that you have the right details and facts. This is critical when dealing with the kings, particularly the kings, because they can be very challenging to understand who they are and when they reign and so forth. Okay, so those are some of the basic tools you're going to use. Now let's walk through some specialized searches that you're going to need to know. All right, this first one is really straightforward. I'm going to open up our Bible, and I'm going to go to 2 Kings chapter 3, 1 through 27. Now here we have Jehoram, the son of Ahab. Notice again, we've got this basic information. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right-click on this person's name, and we're going to choose the person. There we go, Jehoram, son of Ahab, person, search Bible. You probably have done this many, many times. Now, this is a surefire way to find every passage where this individual is mentioned. And in this case, we got 225 results in 87 verses. Not too bad. So if we look at these passages, we can study this individual quite well. And we can see that he's in 1 Kings 21. He's mentioned in 2 Kings 1, 2, and 3. And a few other places as well, all the way there. So quite a bit of information. Notice also in the Chronicles. This can give us more insights too. So when we're studying, we sometimes can fall in that trap of just say, oh, it's a king, let's study kings. But don't neglect the Chronicle books. They have additional insights. It's not a complete repeat of the information. Now, another strategy is searching on the speaker. Now, how do we do this? Well, we can right click on him. And if we right click, you'll see that sometimes there's a speaker icon. In this case, there's not. So let me go to my search result and get one where he actually is speaking. Okay, so here we go. Then he, so if we right click on he, we can confirm that's Jehoram, son of Ahab, went out and sent word to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go up with me to fight against Moab? And he said, I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. All right, so we're learning about things he has said. And this can be all his quotes. And this can be a really wonderful way to study an individual in the words they say. So, okay, we know he talks about war and so forth. So I love doing the speaker search with the speaker person. We're going to come back to this in a minute. But what about who he talks to? That's where the addressee comes. So let me go ahead and just paste that right in there in the search box there, the chat box, so you have that. And this is the people he's addressed to. So think of this as two conversations, right? Him speaking and the other people listening. And I love this combination. So many times they're going to be in the same verse or right next to it. So you can see here we have 2 Kings 3:7, 3:8. We have 2 Kings 3:7, 3:8. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put them side by side and I'll work through these and learn the conversations and see what the content's all about. Very, very useful. Now, another way to make things a little more interesting is using the clause search. So we're going to click on more here. We're going to choose clause. And what we're going to do is, again, search on person. Now, if you don't see a Bible there at the right, you just see the Hebrew, we're going to click add versions, add the Bible translation, click, and then if it doesn't show up, click in the box one more time and press enter once, press it twice, and now you've got it. So this allows you to look at the person at the clause level. This will eliminate a lot of confusion. So again, we got 156 results. He's going to be mentioned, and we can read through these. Here's how we learned he reigned 12 years. This is a whole clause by itself. These searches by themselves are very helpful. But what we want to do is add things. All right, so let's go to this person search, and we'll go to 1 Kings 21. And we see that Ahab is mentioned. All right, so I'm going to right-click on Ahab. I'm going to choose Ahab King Person, and I'm going to choose Bible. And I'm going to go ahead and right-click on this and cut it and close out the search box. Now, what am I doing here? Well, what I'm trying to do is do combination searches. So I'm going to put both people in there. We got Ahab the king, and we got Jehoram his son. Now we've got both people listed, and we're finding all the verses where these two are in the same passage. This is where the person search comes in handy, the combination search. This will help you dig deeper, understand relationships, and so forth. And for example, we could search for the prophet. Who was the prophet at his time? We'll come back to that in a little bit. But that's the idea. All right, now let's take this one step further. And let's look at finding tables. In your library, there are a lot of books that are written on, that have written information about the kings and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to search on the main menu. We're going to click media, choose your books, and then click this drop-down menu. All right. Let me uncheck everything at the moment just to make this a little bit easier. Okay. So you'll see it says your media. What I want you to do is click it, and let's just keep it simple right now. Let's do timelines. Now, the reason we're doing this search is we want to find in our library any book related to kings and the timeline. So here we are with the search results. Now, depending on your library, search results will differ. But for example, here is a wonderful graphic showing us the chronology of kings. And there's actually 3 of them. So we have the United Kingdom, Kingdom of Israel, Kingdom of Judah, slide 2, and slide 3. So this is so helpful. You get a chronology, you get a very easy to use graphic, and you can right-click on this and send to Proclaim or PowerPoint or copy. So I love the media tool to help me find these. You'll see that there's other resources that get into a timeline. So here's 1st and 2nd Kings, Fall of Israel, Fall of Judah, etc. This particular chart, a little hard to read, but let's right-click on it and choose Open in a Floating Window. And I right-clicked on that tab, And now we can zoom in and read it much better. So here's Ahab, and here's Jehoram. We can see that he ruled 852 to 841. If we look closely, we have Ahaziah. All right, now Israel was a secession year, so this first year, partial year, counted as 0 for Jehoram. Look at this. There's another king down here, 853, 841. Different person. All right. So we've got this wonderful timeline, and this is going to make things easier for you. Once you find one of these, it just makes studying a lot better. And so use the media tool to find all these. But you also can use it to compare. Some of these charts, like this one, has some really interesting information. Now, this one is the King James timeline, not going to be useful for us. So it's definitely about kings, but not our kings. Let's click here. Here's a graph or a chart from Table Talk, and we can look here. There's Azariah. In fact, let me make this a little bit bigger. There's Azariah. There's Jehoram, 852, Jehu, 841. So you can see the consistency between these. There's Jehoram, 853. So even that can tell you it's a different person because of the different years. So if we scroll down, there are a lot of fascinating timelines that can be very useful. Here's one. Let me just open up one more here. That gives us a little more information, fall of Samaria, etc. And then some of these books really get an interesting timeline, very specific. So you can, it's a little more narrow, zooming in on a smaller portion of time. So take advantage of that and just look through these. You'll see that different books have different ways of displaying these information. And this is what I was looking for, these books of Israel, these tables, chronological tables of the kings of Israel. It's pretty handy there. Really love that feature and so forth. So this will give you a lot of information depending on the size and depth and breadth of your library. And very useful. Okay, so let me go ahead and close these searches down. The second search that I ran, and let me go ahead and just close these all down as well, all right, is this one right here. What I'm doing is I'm searching my books, but I'm being very specific. Kings near Israel, kings near Judah, and timeline or chronology and an image. Now I'm going to change this to library so that the search results will show me the images. So now what I'm getting is books with images. And we can see that right here. As we scroll down, we're getting some nice context to all these maps and charts. And so this can be really very useful for studying. And then here's the map right here. So again, a lot of different ways to get the information, but look at this. Sometimes you're going to find the kings of Assyria. So now we can study these kings in relation to the kings of Israel and Judah as well. And I like this one. This is actually from a pretty cool book, All the Genealogies of the Bible and visual charts. And so you'll find that to be very, very useful. In fact, let's go to table of contents. And I'm not sure if we've got some of the Old Testament kings, but we will go to the kings. And there's Azariah, kings of Judah. King of Judah, Ahaz, and there we go. And so now we're there, and kings of Judah, and so forth. So helpful sometimes, not so helpful in others, but there we go. Azariah, Jotham, king of Judah, etc. Neat little book, very helpful. And even some things like this, Bible backdrops, which you have to zoom in to read that. So that's a great strategy to find these combination tables of kings for Judah and Israel. Now, while you're studying, don't forget to continue to right-click, all right? When we right-click, we get access to the right-click menu, and you may see something in here. For example, look at this. Elijah is mentioned here, all right? So we could do a search for Elijah. Let's do that. And let me see if I still have the other search. Good, I do. The person of addressees, Elijah, then with person of Jehoram. And we can run a search. Let's see if these appear in the same. And I think this may have to do that one over a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Let's do son of Ahab. There we go. It needed to be in quotes. So we found a passage where only one of them existed, where we've got Elijah, the prophet, being addressed. Now, this can be very helpful. By the way, after you search for the Bible, you may not have realized this, but it can't hurt to search your whole library. Now, I like to click on book and make sure that I'm not just opening up more Bibles. As you can see, most of the results that came back were Bibles. So in this case, we really didn't benefit from running this search. But sometimes you will see these things being tagged. Now, if I'm going to get rid of the addressee and search for the person, then I might get a little bit better luck here. And we do. New Bible Atlas, here we go. The Carta Bible Atlas, notice that we're searching on the person, but the person shows up. Look at this one, all the meals in the Bible. This is pretty fascinating. So this is a specialized resource that was put together. And in this case, we have Jehoram's feast for the Sumerians. Now, if we actually click on the passage and go there, and let's see what passage we're at, 20 through 23, we should be able to find the tag. So I'm going to right-click on feast. And if we scroll down, we have prepare a feast. But let's keep going and look at, usually under the labels is where you're going to see these things. So there's the label icon, and there it is, meal guest. So we're going to click on that, search Bible, okay, and there it is. It's the one passage. But notice all these extra details in here. So we could leave the guest in there and get rid of everything else and put that in parentheses, and let's see if we get some more searches. Well, we did get the search to work, but again, this is the only passage. So make sure you keep an eye on those specialized tags. But this is why I like to search the whole library on, let's say, a person tag, because I get surprised on some of the things that come back. Here we have all the killings in the Bible. And so Joram, the killing was perpetrated by Jehu on Joram, son of Ahab, using an arrow. And so we could go to 2 Kings. We can locate, here we go, and Jehu drew his bow with his full strength and shot Joram between his arms. And the arrow went through his heart, and he sank into his chariot. So if we right-click on this, let's say his bow or bow, again, click the tag icon and expand it. There's the killing. All right, we can go to Bible, and now we can go through this event. And let's see, we could just do the search on and see if the killing is mentioned anywhere else. And it actually is mentioned in this whole section, 924 through 28. So very powerful searches that can lead you into other more in-depth studies. So I love those extra data sets that can come in handy. All right, let's go ahead and get this all closed. In fact, let me just close everything. Let's return to the personal book. And like I said, don't forget to right-click on other tags. One other strategy to help you get more out of your kings is using the Bible browser. So let's click on Tools, and let's just type in Bible. You'll see Bible browser under the reference menu. Let's go ahead and click it. Now, what we want to do is click Start, making sure that it's empty, and then we can put in the name of the king. Okay, and so there we go, Jehoram, and then we'll put in son of Ahab and click it. Now, this is going to give us, in this case, a whole bunch of passages, but now it's highlighting it, and we can read through these, but that's not the main reason why we're doing it. We can do a concordance search anywhere. What is important is these remaining options. This will let you know what is in association with this individual. So we could click on Bible books, okay? Old Testament, he's mentioned 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, 1 Kings. That's pretty easy. But how about places? This is all the places in the Bible that mention this king. So that's pretty cool. Now, where this gets interesting is, let's see if he speaks to God in any of these situations, okay? Maybe looks like he's lifting up a prayer, all right? We could also look at supernatural beings, any encounters with any angels, maybe. Well, he's definitely dealing with the false god of Baal, all right? So you see what's going on? We're getting these relationships. So there's the prophets. This is a great, probably the easiest way to connect a king with a prophet. Just put that king in there, and then we could click on Elisha, and here we go. But Joseph said, is there not a prophet of the Lord here that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered, Elisha, the son of Shaphat, is here, who used to pour water on the hands of Elijah. All right, so we can see some relationships there. Very, very cool. And again, to close this, we just click the X, and that's how we get rid of the individual. So use the Bible browser to discover other relationships with more data. This is how you get around like, well, what do I search on? this will let you do that. And so if we want to study this king, in particularly to the city of Samaria, we can click that. Here we have all the encounters of this king in Samaria. So great little tool. Let's click the X at the top right to close it. All right, one other thing I want you to see is this cool little chart that I made. And let me scroll down to pull that up. So I built this chart using ChatGPT. You can see there's a title. I've got a list of all the kings. Israel is in blue. Judah is in orange. I have a legend at the right. Now, what I did is I grabbed this book. All right? It's called the Bible History Commentary. And I literally grabbed everything in it, including the dates and times. All right, there it is. I copied it. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to choose Selection and choose Copy. Now, what we're going to do is just show you how you can leverage ChatGPT to create your own graphics. And this can be really useful. So let me go ahead and log in to ChatGPT here. It just takes a second, and then we'll be in business. Always takes a moment to log in. And I really love this feature because it just makes things very interesting. All right, let me just go ahead and authorize it. We should be good to go. And now we're in once I get approval. All right, so here we go. Now, we're in ChatGPT, and what I want to do is go back to my book here, and basically I want to generate a timeline chart. That's all I want. So I'm going to type in and generate a timeline chart from the following data. All right, and then I'll just add all that data in there. And this is everything from the Logos book. Notice I'm not even worrying about formatting or anything. Just drag and dump, copy and paste. Now, at first blush, you're going to get something back, and it may not be exactly the way you want it, so there may be some tweaking that you have to do. But I wanted to show you this technique to show you how tables of data that Logos has can be turned into something visual and useful, but also it can allow you to just, make things work. Now, this is kind of interesting because you'll notice right away, in fact, I'm going to hit this double arrow at the right. You'll notice that we've got minus 900 to minus 600. Okay, so that is correct. That's how we want to do it. And we can see the different colors here and so forth. So it's not quite the way I had it before, but nevertheless, we're on our way. And so we should see, actually, this is, okay. So I'm just making sure this is the right angle because sometimes it'll put the wrong dates in there. So I think this is correct. So there's Ahaz and so forth. And there we go. So this is one way to take raw data and then improve it. Now we could make some changes if we want, but I'm just going to leave this as it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that. So be aware that you can drop things in there, and that should help you. All right, let's look at the prophets. Now, here's this thing. We're really approaching this the same way as we are with the kings. Notice we have the fact book. Same idea here. We type in the name of the prophet, Isaiah, select it from the list, and then we work through our list. So all these things that I showed you for the king is identical for the prophet. Now, just to show you some other things, notice that we can choose these different lenses. So we have biblical, we have library, and we have theological. Okay, I like the all. That makes it pretty easy to use. Going back to the personal book, we also can do a guide. No difference there. And let's go to Tools and look at the advanced timeline. So let's go to Tools and let's do Timeline. And we'll click and expand that. All right, let's put in Isaiah just to see what we've got for him and press Enter. And make sure I spelled his name right. I think I did. And there we go. Now, I always like, after I type a search, I always like to go to Fit and say Show All Matching Events. And that has everything there. Now we can see a lot of information about Isaiah. And don't forget, there's a lot more information. You may have to scroll down and see, okay, here's his individual worldview. We've got quite a few things here, and we also have information at the top. So just be aware that there's a lot of information in these timelines that you can search. Let's go ahead and click the X to close this section. Now, what about searching? All right, let's go to 2 Kings 19:2. Then he sent Eliakim, who was over the household of Shebna the scribe, and the priest covered with sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet. So let's right click on Isaiah. There he is as a person, and we can search the Bible. Okay, very straightforward. Now we've got all the passages where Isaiah the prophet is mentioned. Very useful. Now, again, we can do the speaker search, but let's improve this. Because in the case of prophets, we don't want to just search when they spoke. We might want to search on the things that they spoke, like, for example, messianic prophecy. Now, how do we do this? All right, so let's go to Isaiah 7:14. Very familiar passage around Christmas time. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, a virgin will be with child and bear a son. Now, we've already done the search for Isaiah the person. So what we want to do is right-click, let's say, on the virgin, scroll down. Now, remember, we'll have to look at the labels. That's the key icon to look at and expand. And sure enough, there's the messianic prophecy. So we'll click on it. We'll choose Bible. And now it ran this big search. Now, this is a very specific messianic prophecy. Now, what we want to do is expand that. All right. So we're going to delete all that material up to the colon and look at the options. Any content fulfillment relationship source target. Now, if we put that back in there, we might want to have something, related to Jesus, but I'm going to leave this. Let's just see if this will work. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm kind of curious and see if we get anything here. And we do. I'm going to put an asterisk in there just in case. All right, so now we've got messianic prophecy, content Jesus. All right, this is kind of interesting how we've shortened it to include Jesus in the prophecy. Now, let's take this search. And by the way, I've done a webinar on how to search messianic prophecies. You'll definitely want to check that out. Let's combine these two searches, but let's see how we did it. So what I did is I did speaker Isaiah intersects messianic prophecy. Let me just do that search. All right, there it is. And notice I'm doing speaker, not person. This is the key because by doing the speaker, you're saying, okay, he's talking. And if it is a messianic prophecy he's talking about, those two in combination, where they intersect, well, that's going to be him preaching about it. Now, notice that we're getting Old Testament and New Testament because the New Testament is quoting the Old Testament. So this is really cool. So even though we may not see all the passages in the Old Testament, we get these additional quotes of the New that can give us some interesting other passages, right? And that's what makes this particular search interesting. Now I'm going to change it from Messianic Prophecy Star to Messianic Prophecy Content Jesus. This should reduce the results quite a bit. But in this case, it didn't. And there you go. So this is how using the speaker label can take your searching to a whole nother level. I love that capability. Now let's do another one. And this one is on Jesus' humanity. But notice that we're searching on systematic theology. So let's go there and show it what happened. So once again, I'm going to right click on virgin. Okay. Or better yet, let's do, we'll bear a son. Let's right click on son. Now, if you scroll down, you're going to see the three dots, which represents theology. If we click and expand that, we've got several options here. Jesus' humanity, Mariology, because it's about Mary, and Jesus' virgin birth. So let's choose Jesus' humanity and do search Bible. Now, this whole search is looking at every place where the humanity of Christ is cited. This is a theological concept. It's called the incarnation. Only one passage in the Old Testament talks about it, but we got all these examples in the New. So we could take a theological theme, tie that to our prophet, which is what we did here, and see if he spoke on anything about the humanity of Christ. And he did in Isaiah 7:14. So this combination of speaker, prophet, and the content of what the prophet spoken can really help you understand all these passages. Pretty amazing. Now, addressee, pretty straightforward there. Every time someone addresses or speaks to Isaiah, we have those there. So they said to him, thus says Hezekiah, this day is a day of distress, rebuke, and rejection, for children have come to birth, and there is no strength to deliver. So this is kind of fascinating to see who's talking to the prophet and what are they talking to the prophet about. And so again, we're seeing the other side of the conversation equation. Very, very important. So when you're studying kings and prophets, you need to look at both sides of the conversation. We also can do a clause search, pretty straightforward there. And nothing different here. Again, we're just searching for clauses, phrases, where in this case, Isaiah is mentioned. So here we go. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. So pretty cool in that little history note there. And again, you may need to add a version. We've already done the timelines, okay? So we can search for prophets in the timelines. This is kind of interesting. Notice that I went to search media. I'm not searching kings this time, but prophets. And now I'm getting all the timelines because that's my default here. And now we can look at all the different prophets. Pretty cool. I really like this feature. Makes it very handy. And you get some surprising things like this. All right, so we have the Hebrew kings and prophets. And so no kings, right? We got these different countries. Here we go with Isaiah, Micah, Israel ends, Hezekiah, the Silver Age, and then another here, Jehu cutting the line, and so forth. All right, so we can see this whole 500 years of Hebrew kings and prophets. Very, very fascinating graph there. And then going back to the personal book. In fact, let's close some of these things down. It's getting a little unwieldy in here. All right, so we'll close all these down and open up our personal book. So I love the media search. Just do prophets, and then you can do this type of search. This is searching your books. We're doing prophets near Israel, prophets near Judah, timeline or chronology near image. Let me go ahead and give you that little search you can run. And again, look what we're getting back for the search results. This can be so helpful. So minor prophets timeline, there we go. You can see what's going on here. We can see where they are location-wise. This is a fascinating one because you're seeing where the prophets were located. That can be very helpful and so forth. So there's some really good charts in here that you want to take advantage of that can be very useful in understanding what's going on. Okay, so let me go ahead and close both of those. And again, don't forget to right-click on other tags. Now, we're almost wrapping things up here. Just have a handful of searches to show. Again, the Bible browser is going to be your best friend here. So again, we'll go into here. We'll click Start. Actually, we had the prophets. Let me go ahead and do that. That was what we did want. Again, we now have all the results of Isaiah the prophet. So we scroll down and look at topics, and we can go on the topic of, let's say, deliverance. And we can read those. I'll click the X. We could go down here to systematic theology. And let's see what Isaiah the prophet says about the millennium. So we click on the millennium, and now we have those, okay? So this is a very powerful way for you to take an individual like a prophet and determine other related subjects. This is probably the easiest way to do it. And so come to the Bible browser and use it that way. Now, I do have a ChatGPT prompt to help you kind of create a chart. And so we'll go ahead and do that. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys this one just for the fun of it. And it's just a little bit too long. That's unfortunate. So let me get rid of this last part and see if that's short enough. There we go. All right. So that takes you up to here. And then let's go ahead and just run this in ChatGPT. Now, it has to be done in ChatGPT due to the way that this tool can visualize information. Some of the other ones cannot. So we run the search, and and that would work too. Good point. All right, so there it is, and now it's analyzing. And then what I'm going to do is go back to my personal book, and we're going to do these one at a time. That's why they're separated with dots. So after it generates the graph in ChatGPT, we're going to want to say include a legend in case it didn't. And so there we go. And you can see this first one didn't quite come out the way we had liked it. Things are kind of messed up. So you're going to may have to play with it sometimes to get it just right. I had really good luck yesterday. You can see those graphs in here. Pretty amazing. All right. So you can, using ChatGPT, build these things one at a time with the data. All right, in wrapping up, let's do a couple more concepts, and that is researching both the king and the prophets. So here's a specialized search that I ran. Let me paste that in there for you. And the idea is I want to search all my books where kings are near prophets and Judah is near Israel. Now, we could have changed this to say, kings near Judah and prophets near Israel, but I wanted to separate the kings and prophets as one search and Judah and Israel as another search. And then we get some really interesting charts like this, right? So you got a variety of information, kings of Israel, prophets. You can see very clearly who is connected to who. Once you have the specific individual, then you want to run a very specific search. So Ahaz near Micah near Isaiah. These were all contemporaries. And when you run a search like that, you can get some really fascinating insights here. For example, Ahaz, son of Jotham, prophets Isaiah, Micah, and Hosea, the most corrupt monarch that had hitherto appeared in Judah. So we could have added as well as Hosea. So let's do that. And maybe we'll get some different results or fewer results. And there we go. And so now we can work our way through this. Here we go. Jotham, king of Judah. And we can see the information there in all genealogies of the Bible. So running a search in general is a good strategy, kings and prophets, Judah near Israel. Once you find contemporaries of one another, then insert their names to find more information. And that can be a great way to get a lot of information quickly. The last thing I wanted to show you is this one. This is a really important one, and that is searching your theology books. So we're going to do search. We're going to do books. We're going to click your books, all text, all passages. So we'll click your books, and we're going to put in L10. You guys have downloaded this from before. We're going to choose systematic and general theology, and then we're going to paste in there Isaiah versus Ahaz. Now, we're searching theology books so that we can get information about these from a theological perspective. So we may get some insights on Jesus Christ being Emmanuel, the prophetic tradition, the person of God, Isaiah 7:14. A lot of very interesting information like Zion theology. As you scroll down, faith in the Old Testament and in Judaism. So all of these passages that show up here in the theology book are going to come from a theological perspective. And this can help you really gain some additional insights that maybe you wouldn't have gotten just reading the Bible directly. So as you can see, this is a really powerful way to search kings, prophets, using your theology books, your charts, your maps, even ChatGPT. So let me go ahead and launch a poll real quick. This is a good time if you've got any questions to let me know what you think. But at the end of the day, what we're really doing with Kings and Prophets is we're searching for people and places, events, etc. And these tools will allow you to exhaustively study these individuals. Don't forget, you can visit LearnLogos.com/replay, or you can purchase this right now, this webinar, and we'll have that shipped out to you tomorrow after I finish the editing. And our next webinar is an intense topic. What do you know about the wrath of God? 2 weeks from Thursday, the 21st, or actually a week from this Thursday. And a very exciting topic and a very intense topic. And so let's go ahead and close in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time together, for those giving up an evening to come out to learn about Logos Bible software, to study the kings that you have placed in power in Israel in days past, and the prophets that were there to proclaim your word. It's an amazing study. So much of their words have been fulfilled by your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior. Thank you, Lord, for the scriptures, and thank you for this time together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us for tonight's webinar, How to Study Kings and Prophets in the Old Testament. And we'll see you in a week from this Thursday in the next webinar. Have a blessed night, and we'll see you soon.